Let's see. Dr. Rivers, you ready?
I am ready.
Ready? Okay. I'm going to share the screen first, and then we'll, excuse me. I want to pull up. I've got so many things on here. I want to absolutely here. Let's start. Let's start there. Okay, you want to open up, Dr. Revis? Because you feel
sure
better.
will.
You feel better tonight. So
I feel so much better. Yes, and thanks for carrying the load last week.
No problem.
I really appreciate that. I got a little behind in my grading, but I finally caught up, I think. So welcome everybody to week 6. Again, it's just really hard for me to believe that we're already into week 6 and you guys are rounding the corner here with your AAPSL. I was really pleased with the work that came in this week, even though most candidates were not able to meet with their principal, which we knew that was going to probably be pretty difficult for you, particularly this time of year, and particularly with everybody being out and your PLC having problems getting together, etc. So again, I look forward to reading the remaining pieces of the AAPSL. Be sure that if you had any revisions or if you needed to finish it up, that you get that finished up by Thursday, and Dr. Stedman likes his by Wednesday of this week. So again, I was really pleased with what we saw and what came in this week.
Right, and I was too. There's a couple that still owe me some major work, and I hope you're working on it and get it to me. I need it sooner than later, so get that to me, so I can get you back on track and you don't get behind. I do want to say that as it relates to work, our requirements are the same. If it says it's due on that night, then those are our expectations. You're grown. If it doesn't come in, then we have to do what we have to do, but you need to understand that it not only impacts you, it impacts me or Dr. Revis, it impacts the students in your class. So just know that it's not just you when things are not working on schedule. And most of you are working on a schedule. You've accepted the rigor of the program. You've learned how to pretty much balance it in. I see it all coming together, and some of you have even communicated with me and told me that that it's that you feel much better about things now. But the task 4, overall, I was highly pleased with task 4. And Dr. Revis, I've already had 4 that they're completely cleared with it. So and I've got several more that if they go ahead and submit it, they're cleared with it as well. I've already cleared them on that as well. I wanted them to complete the peer review process just in case the peers saw something that maybe I didn't see. So that's always important. But pretty much they're going to clear to go. Now, Revis, let's talk about the Zoom assignment just very briefly. I don't know if we talked about it last week. Is there anything else that we need to say about it? Is my point.
Well, I had not listened to my Zoom recordings last week, so I've gotten through all of them. And wow, first and foremost, I can't tell you how nice it is for Dr. Stedman and I to be working with such a positive group of individuals.
It is.
And your just attitudes are so upbeat, even though we know it's a very rigorous program, and it's okay to say it's rigorous. And wow, sometimes I feel like I want to just pull the covers up over my head, but it's okay to do that. But in the same breath, you're saying, but oh, I'm learning so much. And I just wondered, Sri, am I putting you on the spot by asking you to share a very authentic way in which you shared your work, not only in your school, but in your school district? Do we have time for that?
Yes, we will take time for it.
Sri?
Well, yes. Thank you, Dr. Revis and Dr. Stedman. And let me begin by saying I'm forever grateful for your guidance and support. And every time I call Dr. Stedman, he picks up the phone. Anytime I email you, Dr. Revis, I get a response right away. So thank you so much for that to begin with. So based on task 4, I had to work on a presentation that I had to share with my principal. So I couldn't actually share it with my principal, but I shared it with my district math coach because we have an interim principal right now, and she directs all these math related questions to the district math coach and the math director. So I shared my presentation last Friday with my district math director, and she was just appalled in terms of how much work our PLC had done in the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. And any suggestions that we had, she readily agreed with. And she also asked me to do the presentation for our district middle school and high school math teachers today. It was a 40-minute presentation, around 22 slides. I shared my research-based findings, the critical need, the action plan, the resources, the timeline for that, and how we had all the adults accountable and the kids accountable for all this. And at the end, I recommended that we should probably do this as a department for the whole school, perhaps maybe even the whole district. So all Math 1 teachers could participate in this, and we can get feedback from them. And I got a lot of good feedback from the district director, all the different instructional coaches that the district had. They had reached out to the math coach in our building, and they are going to come and observe our PLCs and see how we are performing our corrective instruction and all that. And that was just it was an inspiring moment. So.
Thank you and congratulations, Sri.
Thank
and
you.
I was speaking to Sri earlier. These are the opportunities that all of you want. First of all, this has put Sri out in the limelight. People are noticing her already. You want to be noticed in a positive way. So the work you do, the quality of work you do can automatically open the next door for you. So, you know, when you do it with excellence, with fidelity, and know that there are eyes upon you and that you should remember that. They're listening, they're watching, and you never, ever know. Just remember that the state of North Carolina and South Carolina, I think, I know in North Carolina, but they can actually make you an assistant principal before you finish the program and give you time to finish the program as well. So you just never know. So congratulations, Sri, on the job well done with that.
Thank you, Dr. Stedman.
Dr. Revis, I want to come back to this, but I want us to go ahead and talk about the case study assignment and when it's due. So I'm going to stop sharing, and if you can bring that up, and
Sure.
I'll just comment on that as well after you open it up and talk about it.
Well, I don't know if you recall, but just to kind of piggyback on what Sri has been sharing her experiences, one of the things that I love about Gardner Webb, and I always share this with my interns at the beginning of every semester, and I think I shared it with you guys. One of the things I love about Gardner Webb is the authentic task that you are doing. These are really real things that you're going to be doing as a principal or as an administrator. And it's not busy work. We're just not giving you a topic and having you write and do some research. This is an authentic task. And so we're getting ready now to share with you one of our case studies. And this is case study 1. Dr. Stedman, can you show your screen and show where we find that case study?
Okay, I will. Okay, go ahead and talk to her while I'm
sure.
That then.
And in this case study, what I want you to think about before you even begin reading it, I want you to think about the process that you used with the AAPSL. Guys, it doesn't matter what kind of problem we're looking at in our schools. the process to addressing that problem is pretty much the same. Number one, we analyze our data. We look at all available data sets. Secondly, we pull together a PLC, or you could pull the PLC together before you get your data, but you pull a PLC, a group of people together who have a vested interest in the problem. And we're going to examine those data sets. Thirdly, research. Believe it or not, schools are not unique. If you've got a problem in your school, I can promise you there's another school or schools or many schools across the nation who has also been struggling with the same problem. There is research out there. You've just got to take the time to go investigate it. And then you bring that research back to your PLC and you look at that research, look at your data sets, decide what is the most appropriate solution or solutions for our problem. So I say all that because when you look at case study 1, and it's found on the left-hand side where it says case study materials.
And everything that you're going to need for what Dr. Revis and I are going to be talking about in the next few minutes is found here with this. This is a week 8 assignment, but you need to be thinking about it now. It's a week 8 assignment.
And that
So
assignment,
we'll click on that.
Yeah, open that up, and that assignment is going, you have the case study directions, the first thing, and then let's open up the scenario first, I think.
Okay.
You will first read this case study on your own, and you are going to make reflections. Now, this is a little bit, you're going to do a Zoom with your Zoom team, but this Zoom is a little bit different than the one you just completed. This Zoom, you need to back up your opinions and back up what you say you would do or recommendations by research. Let me say that again. You just don't give an opinion. You back up what you would recommend James to do, the principal, in response to all the questions you're going to look at with research. You can use the readings from your text. You can quote Dr. Stedman and myself. You can look at the readings that are posted in your Blackboard shell, but you just don't give an opinion. Okay, you back it up with research. And this is a new principal and his first role as an instructional leader. And I'm not going to go through this. I want you to read it, and I want you to think about the AAPSL and the process that we went through and the language of the AAPSL. We're going to be listening to hear you talk about things that you did in the AAPSL as far as what you would recommend doing here, and back it up with that research.
Okay. And remember now, on your own, right now on your own, you are to read this on your own. Okay, on your own at this point. Then look at the bottom, Dr. Revis.
There are 4 questions, and you need to have your 4 questions prepared in advance before your Zoom meeting. And again, these are not huge questions, but what do you think about the way James handled this particular situation, considering his limited background? Please don't say, well, I think he did a great job. No. Go into depth. Talk about things you feel like he did well, maybe some things you feel like he could have done more of. And you can see the second question, what could be done to help the reading scores? What more could be done? What additional resources? And then lastly, what might he be sacrificing if he placed the emphasis only on the reading program?
And again, we need to hear when you're discussing these, we need to hear the language throughout of AAPSL and the AAPSL development and all the research, everything that you know. Just think about even back to the presentation on EVOS you know, the language. We want to hear the language. We want to know that you know what you're talking about. And again, these questions are for you. You have to come prepared, you know, to discuss them. You're not going to, these will not come to us with an answer. The questions are for you. We're going to show you what has to come to us. Okay.
And this is to prepare you to be able to engage in that professional dialogue with your peers.
Now, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I can't remember what I was going to say. That's why I said go ahead.
Okay. Now you will select a different Zoom leader this time.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you.
And so that Zoom leader needs to be prepared to facilitate that discussion through those 4 questions and making sure everyone is going to be able to contribute and contribute equally throughout that discussion. And again, we're looking for that professional dialogue, that research-based language, just like we use in the AAPSL.
I'm going back up here to the directions, Dr. Revis, just in case there's something that we need to. It'll pop up in a second.
So these are your directions.
Okay.
You read it and write a 1-paragraph response for each question. Then, of course, your Zoom master schedule sends out the link and records the case study session. Please be sure the Zoom master sends the link back to every member of the Zoom team. And guys, in order for us to give you a score for your participation in the Zoom, you have to submit that Zoom link. All right.
But you've got to do more than submit the Zoom link this time. That's what she's going to talk about.
Right. So during the case study session, each member shares their responses and engages in that scholarly discussion. Now, group consensus is desirable, but you don't have to have a consensus about what you feel like James should do, but you should thoroughly discuss the scenario. And then at the end, each candidate will write a 1-page, 2-part reflective summary of both the case study and of the case study Zoom session. Now, the case study reflective summary, please don't just regurgitate everything. Just don't retell the case study. I want you to talk about what are some salient points that you believe came out in the case study that you really felt like were important to this case study. And then the second part of it is you reflect on the scholarly discussion. What were your takeaways? What do you believe? What did you guys come to consensus on? What were you still maybe in disagreement about? Professional disagreement, those kinds of things. So it's not just a regurgitation of the case study, but the relevant points. And again, a reflection on the professional dialogue.
And remember, now this is, you're going to ask the question, well, we have to do, and that narrative work, is that APA? No, it's not necessarily the APA, but we want it written professionally. It's not just, you know, if you were doing an essay paper or something like that, we just want good narrative work with the right grammar, good sentence structure, and all of that. However, if you do include a reference to something, then you would have to put, you know, you would have to cite that, you know, just like you would with anything else, if that would happen to be something that you cited in your reflections. So just remember that. And Dr. Revis, I'm going to click on this. You see this, everything you need for case study 1. There's your directions, there's your scenario, and then watch what I'm doing. I'm going to click on this. And this is where you're going to put everything. You're going to upload here, and you're going to upload your link that the Zoom leader sends you. You're also going to upload the documentation, the 2-part 1-page reflection and and the other work that you have to do as a result of the end result of meeting with your team. So this is where the assignment will go once you have completed the process. So everybody will have the same video. We're going to look at your participation again, what you do, what you add. You know, we're going to listen specifically to the things that you say, and that is how we will assess, make our final assessment on you. And then everybody's reflection and that final document will be unique work to you only.
And just for point of clarification, you will not upload your responses to those 4 questions.
Right.
That's just your preparation for yourself to be ready to engage in that discussion with your teammates. What you're going to upload is the 1-page, 2-part reflection and your Zoom link. Okay. Now that is due no later than Sunday, March the 6th at 9 p.m. And of course, you know, if you get that done earlier, you can go ahead and submit that. But just give yourselves time to be very well prepared before you begin your Zoom session.
Okay. I want to come back to this again. The rest of the evening, this is what we're going to be talking about. Task 5 of the AAPSL. We're going to talk about competency folio requirements because we're going to show you how to work smarter and not harder. But then I want you to look, now this is, Dr. Revis, have you had a chance to put this in week 6 yet in your class?
No, I have not.
Dr. Revis will put this in class under week 6 as well. You can find this document under week 6 already in my class, and you'll be able to find. But this is this, and I've color coded this because it helps with things. Now, don't get overwhelmed, but I feel like we're at a place that you kind of need to know, you know, what is due and when is it due. I want you to look at this before we even go into task 5. Task 4, and many of you have completed it already. We're cleaning that up, but remember, no later than Sunday of this week, task 4 must be completed. When you get through with it, and most of you, it's just a little bit of cleanup, go ahead and get it out of the way. Don't wait until Sunday, get it out of the way. And then again, make sure that when you put that final work in there, that you put the action plan presentation to your administration and to others with that. So that is this week. Let's look at, we're going to introduce task 5 today. Now remember, task 5, we're going to be working with our competencies. You're going to see that there, while there's work involved in it, it's not as laborious as some of the other things that you've done. And this is independent. You don't have to work with your PLC at all with task 5. It's you and you alone. There are no peer reviews for task 5. There are no peer reviews. You're through with peer reviews until we start with the AAPSL. So you've got probably about 3 weeks before you have to start looking at peer reviews again. So that's going to help you. You don't have to focus on peer reviews for a while, and then we start over again. But task 5, you're going to submit it at some point this week, not by Sunday. You're going to submit it to Dr. Revis or me at some point this week. We'd like to see it as soon as possible before Sunday, because by Sunday night, you've got to submit task 5 for a final grade. So we have to look at task 5. We have to approve it, send it back for revision or whatever at some point this week. But by Sunday night at 9 o'clock, task 5 will be due for a final grade. Your peers have nothing to do with task 5. If you're in Dr. Revis's class, she alone will look at task 5. If you're in my class, I alone will look at task 5. Okay? And we're going to talk about what you've got to do there. And again, remember, no peer reviews. You're through with peer reviews at this point. some of you are going to get to the place that you're probably going to say, what do I do next? The completed AAPSL will be due for instructor review and final approval no later than Sunday, February the 27th. That's not this Sunday, but next Sunday. Okay? I'm going to show you something that's going to help you tremendously in a minute, because I know there's going to be somebody that's going to be there. What do I do? Again, do not pass go, do not collect $200, don't do anything until we tell you what to do, though, okay? When it gets to week 7, that's not this week, but the end of next week, this means that all tasks for the AAPSL will have been successfully completed and approved by either Dr. Revis and me. You will have combined it into one document. It will have been submitted for instructor review, approval in Blackboard. You will have received approval from us to submit to the Turnitin process. You will have been granted permission to submit the task string for a final grade. Again, do not bypass any of these steps, and I'm going to talk about that more. I just simply wanted you to know that not this Sunday, but by next Sunday, the AAPSL should be history. Okay? Now, I want you to look at this. Dr. Revis is going to lead in this tonight. Don't get scared. Just hold your breath. Don't get scared. But the competency folio has been introduced that Dr. Lamb talked to you about setting up in task stream. 12 of those competencies are going to be due also by the 27th. You're going to say, wow, guess what? I'm going to tell you tonight about those same 12 competencies that you've got to do for task 5. We're going to tell you, you do them one way for task 5. You do them another way for the competency folio. And that's what we're going to do. You're going to work smart and not harder. So while you're doing task 5 for Dr. Revis and me this week, you're also going to be working simultaneously with that same competency, and you're going to say, okay, this is for task 5. This same competency is for my folio. So you're going to be building that bridge for both of them at the same time, and we're going to tell you how to do that. Okay. And remember, if you are in Dr. Revis's class, you will send your competency folio to me to look at. And if you are in my class, your competency folio goes to Dr. Revis, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But just remember, I want you to look at this date, February the 27th, the same time that your AAPSL is due. You're going to say, wow, but guess what? You're going to see how easy that's going to be. You're going to be able to do all that based on how we're going to show you things. You're going to learn, remember, you're going to learn how to work smarter and not harder. Okay. Dr. Revis, I'm going to come out of that, and then I'm going to pull up another document I want to show you. Before I even go into task 5, I want to show you something. Here it is. I want you to look at this, and this is in your in Blackboard as well. I'm in task 5. Now, this is what you've got to do to be accomplished. Okay. I want you to look at, when you look at developing, you look at proficient, and you look at accomplished. Don't look at the top headlines. All of this, everything that they said you have to do is the same. Blank and blank and blank. Blank and blank and blank, blank and blank and blank. What are the, okay, for all 3 of them, is the candidate's narrative includes a reflective analysis of course content in relation to the awareness and development of each competency. Remember, and I'm going to show you in a minute, there's 21 competencies. You're going to be focusing on 12 of those competencies for the AAPSL, 12 of the 21. Well, when you reflect on it, what am I reflecting on? You're reflecting on two things. You're reflecting on the coursework, the course content, everything that you've done with the development of the AAPSL, what you've read, everything that's content related. And you're going to say, out of the 12 competencies, one of them is one of them could be communication. Well, out of all of the work that you've done with the AAPSL, you're going to write and you're going to convince Dr. Revis and me, and you're going to convince your evaluator that you have met competency, the competency for communication, and you're going to tell us how you did that in your coursework. And the candidate's narrative includes a description of clinical experiences and how they related to the awareness and development of each competency. So you're going to do two things. You're going to tell us in your narrative work how you met that competency in your coursework, and you're also going to tell us how you met that same competency as in your clinical experience, doing your internship, whatever you did. So you're going to talk about that competency twice. You're going to relate it to your coursework. You're going to relate it to your clinical experience. And again, you have to do 12 of them. We're going to show you where they are and what you've got to do. Now, I want you to look at the difference in them. You say, well, it's all the same. Well, look at that. I'm not even going to look at developing, because that's not acceptable. You cannot even get. So let's look at proficient. To be a proficient, to get by, all of the following have been satisfactorily completed. That means that you've met the guidelines. But to be considered accomplished, I want you to look at the key word. All of the following have been satisfactorily completed in a manner that is you consistently exceed expectations. So you can get by, and I'm going to say it like this. A 70 is passing, isn't it? That can be proficient. But to be accomplished, you've got to go over and beyond, and you have got to show us. You've got to show your evaluator that you've gone over and beyond in that area. So you've got to do some soul searching, and you've got to think about. Now, let me tell you, I could do this, Dr. Revis. I am going to sell myself if I have that opportunity. Do not sell yourself short. Tell the truth, but make it look good. And when you write this, you make sure that you delineate, you distinguish between what you've learned in the course, what you've done with your clinical experience. All of that other work that you've done, you're striving to get a 4 when this goes before the evaluator. Dr. Revis, we have gotten to the point that when they looked at your combined AAPSL, this has been one thing. This right here has kept people from making a 4, because they did not go over and beyond here. They did not satisfactorily show that they had met those competencies in both areas. So that is highly important.
And I just want to say this, guys, this, I don't mean it's to say it's easy, but you're not having to gather your PLC. This is talking about your personal reflections and the work that you've done in the class, the AAPSL, or in your clinical. Now, you have heard Dr. Stedman say many times, this is a writing intensive course. I have a few candidates, Dr. Stedman, they are so brief and to the point that I have to really tell them they have to go into depth. We're not going to tell you, it has to be 3 paragraphs or anything like that. But guys, you've got to go into depth with this. We have seen people get straight 4s on tasks 1 through 4, the difficult tasks, and make a 3 or a 3.5 on this one. So we just say that to you to say, you've got to do a reflection. It has to be in depth. Talk about yourself, even though you may not be like to do a lot of writing or talking about yourself, you're going to have to put it on in this one. Okay.
Yeah. This is I mean, this is your opportunity to shine. You just remember, you sell yourself.
Mhm.
Now, these are examples. Now, remember, they're only examples. We didn't say that they were comprehensive examples. We just give you something so that you'll get an idea of some things that so when you look at conflict management, this is just an example of conflict management. We didn't say that this is how yours should look, that this is everything that it should be. This is just an idea for you to know, am I in the right direction? So these are, when you look at these, they're only examples. I want to scroll all the way down beyond that though. Remember, there's 12 of them. Well, where am I? How do I know what 12? Well, I'm going to show you. At the bottom of this same document, this is where your template is. The bottom of your template for task 5. Okay. Do you see these that are highlighted in yellow? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's 8 of them. These 8 are required. They're non-negotiable. Out of the 21, every one of you are going to address communication, change management, delegation, dialogue, inquiry, and it tells you what it means there: judgment, systems thinking, technology, and visionary. All of you have to address those 8. Remember, how many do you have to do for the AAPSL? 12. Okay, let's scroll on down. All 21 are listed here. So some of those same 12 that we just talked about are embedded in here. So once you get those 12 done, then there is one. Once you get those 8 done, there's 8 from 21. There's Lord, I can't even think.
4.
Before that, you got to pick 4 more out of what you have not done up there. 4 more out of these 21. And there can be any 4 that you feel like that you have that you have met, and you've got to do the same thing with them. Well, that is going to be 12 of the 21. That means there's 9 left. Guess when you're going to do the 9 that's left? At the end of the AAPSL. So you're doing 12 for the AAPSL, and you're going to do the remaining 9 at the end of the AAPSL. So when we get to task 4 for the AAPSL, we're going to tell you the same thing, except it's going to be much briefer, and we're going to say the remaining 9, you complete the same process at the end of the AAPSL. This is what is due to Dr. Revis and me this week before Sunday, so that we can review it. We can say you're good to go. Most students, Dr. Revis, we don't have to tell them much about this once they get started with it. Most of them is clear.
The only ones I have to send back are when they don't reflect on something both
Right.
from their coursework and their internship.
And
now
make
that
sure
example,
that we don't, go ahead.
The example there on that template that we showed you, those don't get it because they didn't talk about both.
No.
So don't think that that's an exemplar. It's
No.
just an example.
That's all it is an example. You know where to go and find what you need to find. And you follow the template, your template for task 5. You follow the same example. You do it just like you did task 1 through 4 with task 5. Now with task 5, with this assignment is only narrative work. Narrative work only. Okay. Now, Dr. Revis, you want to go ahead and talk to them while we're looking at it? Talk to them about the competency folio.
Okay, let me share my screen, and if you
Okay.
don't
I'm gonna
mind.
stop sharing then, and then I'll come back in a minute because I want to show them something else too.
And I want to go in. Actually, I've pulled up a task stream, an old competency folio. Now, again, guys, this is not for task 5. What we're doing now is kind of shifting gears and showing you how you can take what you do in task 5 and blend it in for your competency folio. Okay. If you've not built your competency folio, you need to do that. And there is a video in that in your course overview shell. I think it's under competency folio, handbooks and folio. And right here, it is very easy to do. It's Dr. Lamb's video. Okay. But you have to set it up yourself. And you have to request comments before we can see it. So on the left-hand scroll bar, those are your 21 competencies listed, right? If you click on, let's go back to communication, click on communication, and you can see that by the time you end your 3 semesters, you've got to have 3 artifacts per competency. We're only going to look at the 12 right now that you're doing for the AAPSL, and we're getting those out of the way. You've written a reflection on it for task 5. Now here is where you put your artifact. No artifacts in task 5. Artifacts go here. You see this one says one of your artifacts needs to come from your AAPSL, PSYOP, and open-ended. When it says open-ended, friends, that's from your clinical hours, okay? Well, you haven't done the PSYOP, so communication is one of the required 12 you've got to do anyway. So you would open this up, and do you remember Dr. Lamb talking about a great artifact for this is the email permission that you sent to your principal to begin your PLC and the positive response back. That's your artifact. And you would need to show just a little. I'm going to show you one if I can find Anera's.
Okay, come on down. There it is. No, you're going back about.
Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. I want to show you what Anera's looks like. And this is an example. Communication. Now, she gives a pretty detailed explanation. You don't have to give that kind of a detailed explanation. You can simply say, I like it to say spring 2022 AAPSL. That tells me as a reviewer what semester and where you've pulled it from. Okay. And just tell about the following is an email communication between myself and my principal requesting permission to begin a PLC and him giving me the affirmative response. And then down here at the bottom, right there it is. It's labeled the same way, AAPSL communication. Okay.
And you can do more than one, but you're only required to do one. You know, if you've got more than one form of communication you want to share, you know, you're building your folio. And this is the one that Dr. Lamb said, this will definitely go to DPI whenever you apply for your license. This is part of the evaluation that they look at.
And this is Anera's completed 3-semester portfolio. Okay,
it's an excellent model. It's an excellent model to follow.
So communication is one you have to do for the AAPSL task 5. And you've already got the artifact. You really should not be having to create new work for your Competency Folio artifacts. They should either come from your coursework or from your clinical work. Now let's look at change management. One of the three from the AAPSL, PSYOP, and one open-ended. Well, AAPSL again. And this is one of your required. Now, it doesn't always, every 8 required doesn't always follow this nice pattern, and I'll show you here in a minute. But you can see here again, she labels the description, spring 2022 AAPSL, brief description, boom, artifact. Okay.
And she tells us whether it's open-ended, if it's digital learning, she identifies that and she highlighted it so that it would be easy to see.
Yep. So you're going to go through, and the 8 required, and they jump around, the 8 required, you're going to do those 8. All right. Now, let me go down here. I don't believe this is a required one. No, it's not. This is not a required one for the AAPSL Task 5. You can choose this one, but it says you should choose from the skip, the cap, and one open-ended. You could put one here because clearly the work you do in the AAPSL, it's all about results oriented, isn't it? So you could use that even though it doesn't say skip AAPSL, it says skip, cap, and open-ended.
And I'm going to tell you, when Sheree did her presentation today, that really focused on, that was an open-ended, that's an open-ended artifact. Her presentation is an open-ended artifact in communication. It could be actually change management because they were looking at making a difference with Math 1 students across the county. So change management. So hers would be, she could actually use everything she did for as an open-ended there for change management.
And I think you have to do the communication and change management for your task 5. Let's look at conflict management. That's not one of the required ones for task 5, but conflict management, you know, did you have any issues of conflict when you were trying to come to a consensus in your PLC? And she also put one here for the AAPSL.
And Dr. Revis, also, if you are doing your clinical work and you are allowed to sit in, sometimes the assistant principal may allow you to work with a discipline problem outside of the classroom. They could allow you to be a part of a disgruntled parent that comes in, and you could be a part of that meeting. You know, those are all, you know, that's a form of conflict management.
But the easiest thing to do here is just go through and click on them. And if it says AAPSL, there's one, conflict management, AAPSL, creative thinking, AAPSL. You know, I don't think you have to do creative thinking as one of your 8, but that needs to be a choice one because you got to do it anyway.
Right.
So just click through them and find the ones that you know you've already got an artifact for. Delegation. My goodness, each one of you did delegation when you were designing your action plan in task 4. And so on. Just take a little time to go through that. Now, this one, there's not one that talks about from the AAPSL, but dialogue and inquiry is one you've got to do for your task 5. So go ahead and do one here. Just
Sasha asked a question, Dr. Revis, that like with conflict management, what would an artifact be? Now, if it's a discipline referral, now you can't show the child's name, but you can always mark out the child's name, but you can actually use the discipline referral, and you can put your narrative work with the discipline referral to show your involvement with that. But the discipline referral itself, with the child's name, you know, marked out, would be an artifact.
Right.
You have to think and be creative with your artifacts as well. You have to really think through this.
And again, we're just trying to get you to work smart and not do double work. Everything that you need to build your competency folio with, you should already have.
Dr. Revis, I want them to look at these too. Now, these are, you need to open up, you need to copy these documents. Open-ended, these are examples of open-ended competencies.
And let's start here with this one.
Go ahead.
Let's start here with the ones from your 6 evidences.
Okay.
From your AAPSL, and this is all from your AAPSL right here. Your email PLC permission, your PLC agenda, minutes, and pictures. Look how many competencies that could satisfy.
And these competencies are numbered just like the 1 through 21, like when I showed you on the template, they're listed 1 through 21. 1 will always be communication. 6 will always be delegation. So when what Dr. Revis is showing you, that's the way you will find them.
Your total data set of validated scores. It can fit for competency 16 or 18. Research study abstracts that could fit with competency 7. Pictures or a video of your action plan presentation that could fit with competency 1, 2, 4, or 19. Now, you notice I'm saying 1, 2, 4, or 19. You can't use the same artifact over and over. The Dr. Lamb rule is you cannot use the same artifact more than twice in your portfolio. At this juncture, you shouldn't be using it more than once, in my opinion.
Right. Dr.
Because
Revis,
you've got,
you show them this too, where the task where they can actually find these competencies.
right there, you find all of these artifacts you created in task 1 of AAPSL. You created the scores, validated scores in task 2, the research study abstracts in 3, and your video presentation in 4. And this, you have this for each and every one of your authentic tasks that you're going to be working with in the program. This is a great quick reference guide. Now let me show you where you can get a quick reference guide from. I believe it's the open-ended, yeah, from your clinical work. When you met with your clinical coach 1, they probably shared this list of activities, that suggested activities that you should be doing in your clinical work. And this is not an all exhaustive list. These are just suggested. But if you have addressed a small or large group of adults, it can fit that agenda that would be very easy to collect as an artifact, could fit for dialogue, inquiry, or communication. If you conducted a parent group meeting, change management, and so on, the competencies are right out beside every suggested activity, even some of your supervision activities. And there would be your technical knowledge. So everything is aligned that we've talked about doing, either from your classwork or your clinical work. And again, here's another list of your 21 competencies.
Dr. Revis, I want to remind them again, what I showed you for task 5 is narrative only. There are no artifacts with that. What Dr. Revis is showing you for your folio is it's like a picture album. You open it up, you want to see something. Now you're going to have a brief description of what we're looking at, but the narrative will already have been done in task 5 of the AAPSL, and then in task 4 of the AAPTL. When you do the AAPTL, that's where the narrative, the major narrative work comes in. You always, if you put a picture somewhere, we need to know what we're looking at. So you would just have a brief description of what we're looking at. But artifacts, the proof, You're telling us about it in task 5, but the proof is what we're actually looking at in the folio. Okay.
Questions?
Does that make sense?
Let me check the chat.
Okay, Dr. Rivers, can you stop sharing then? So I want to
Yes.
pull up something else. Okay, let me come out of that. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, can you yet?
Yes, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I don't know why mine is so slow. It's probably because it's getting old like me.
This time of night, I am very slow.
Yeah, and let me see. I wanted to pull up. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? That's not it. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to.
Any questions on the competency folio and task 5?
I'm going to come back out of that.
Okay, good.
That's and there, you really should be at a place where you're not having to ask a lot of questions. That's a good thing. But we want you to ask them if you need to. Okay. You're going to get to the point, some of you by the end of the week, and you're going to say, don't get finger happy and think you've got to start pressing things and that you're running a race. We're not running a race. You've got time. So again, do not do not collect $200. Do not go until Dr. Revis and I tell you to. But when you get to the place that you're ready to put your document together, let me show you where you can go and find it. Go back to the AAPSL template and materials section. Look what we've done for you. Directions and process for submitting the AAPSL to task stream. Now I want you to look over here to the side. Don't click on it. Don't you dare touch it. But let's look. Okay. You're going to, when you get ready for Dr. Revis and me to look at final AAPSL put together into one document, what are you going to do with it? You're going to go over here to back to where you've sent everything else to the
Right there.
AAPSL task
Assignment
for review.
Dropbox.
You're going to go to the AAPSL task for review.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to scroll all the way down and look at there. After task 5, AAPSL tasks 1 through 5 combined for instructor review. You're going to put it back in there in a thread. You're going to send it to us, and we're going to tell you, yay, it looks good. Move on to the turn it in process, or we're going to tell you to fix something. And if we tell you to fix something, you're going to put it right back in there and let us look at it again until we tell you it is ready to go to the turn it in process. So let me come back out of this. When we tell you that it's ready to go to the turn it in process, do you see right here the AAPSL turn it in check? That's when you click on it, not until then. You'll click on it and then you will attach your completed document. The completed AAPSL will be there and it'll tell you what to do to submit it to turn it in. Dr. Revis, tell them what turn it in is in case they don't know. Can't hear you.
Well, turn it in. I'm sure you're familiar with this, particularly if you've worked in high schools and done other graduate degrees. It's just a plagiarism check. It helps us very quickly to see if there are any signs whatsoever of plagiarism. And it will even tell us where the material came from. Now, as a general rule of thumb, you have to stay under about 30%. And if it gets much over 30, 35%, then we start digging to see what's going on. So you don't get the percentage. we will let you know. If you're fine, we send you that message and say you're good, you're within the threshold, and you're ready to send it to task stream. But it's just a plagiarism check. It will check every paper that has been turned into Gardner Webb before. I had a couple of students, they weren't necessarily in my class. One was in my class and one was in another 601 class. They worked together and they wrote some of their work together. Well, the girl who was in my class, the young lady, she was always second in turning hers in to turn it in, and she always popped high. And I told her, you can't do that. You can't write the same work. You can work together and have the same PLC, but you can't have the same narrative work. And unless you're beating her and going through turn it in, you're always going to be plagiarizing. So, it's going to check every paper. We even can see the student's name, which I don't think that's going to be the situation with any of you guys. But, just know that we do check if it gets above 25, 30%.
And then after it goes to turn it in, we will tell you if everything's good, we'll say you submit it to task stream for a final evaluation. And then you have to go in your task stream account and you have to submit it. And we're going to tell you what to do there. And then once it goes there and you get your score back, the last thing you do for the AAPSL is you give us a screenshot of it, you put it in there, and we say, congratulations, job well done. And the AAPSL will be history. We'll move on to the APTEL. But what I want to do is I want to show you, where was it? Okay, here it is. I want to pull this up. You've got this document. It tells you step by step what to do when you get to that place, if it ever shows up. There it is.
But again, you're not going to move through these steps without us prompting you to do so. Okay.
But we're just going to tell you, this is a guide for you. I would print it out. It tells you step by step what you have to do. Everything that we've just talked about, it guides you in that process. So this is something you need to print out when it gets to that point. Now, we're going to talk about this again next Tuesday. Okay? But just in case somebody gets to that and you want to start asking questions, this is where you need to go first and get an understanding. Chances are nobody's going to be ready until we talk again by next Tuesday, Dr. Evans. Chances are. We want you to take your time. Remember, you got to get done. It's not a race at this point. We want quality work. Okay? So chances are that next Tuesday, we're going to be able to show you again what you need to do here. And we probably won't even have a 4-hour class next time, Dr. Evans. There won't need to be, because we'll just remind them of some things, answer their questions, and then let them go at it with whatever they need to work on. Okay?
Dr. Stedman, when we're combining the tasks 1 through 5, it's a running log with the appendix and
and the references.
The figures too. Like if I have figures in one,
yes,
it's 1 through 3, then I got to go 4, 5, 6 in the next.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, you will. I call it like a mini dissertation is what I call it. It's like writing a little mini thesis or dissertation, and you have to follow. You'll have one cover sheet, one school profile, and then your task 1 that you've done will be all of task 1 minus the references and the appendices, all of task 2 minus the references and the appendices, all the way down to task 5, and then all of the references and appendices combined at the end. Okay? You're almost there. You are almost there. Can you believe what you've accomplished though in 5 weeks already? It's hard to believe it, or 6 weeks. Go ahead, Dr. Revis.
We've got one question. We turn task 5 in just like we always do. Yes. And but remember, it's an accelerated pace because we have to see it for review and then for final on Sunday night. So it's just a little bit accelerated here. The portfolio or the competency folio is when you request comments from the opposite instructor. Okay.
Now, and remember, you're working on the folio, but the folio is not due this week. But while you're, whatever competency the 12 competencies you're working on, go ahead while you're doing it and pull your artifacts with it so that you've got it, so that when you get through with your folio, with your task 5, you can go ahead and move in. You can move into your folio, okay? And you'll have some work ready. How do you turn it into? When you go to task stream and you request comments for the folio, it'll have my name listed there, Dr. Revis's name, different ones. You will click, if you're in my class, you will click Dr. Revis's name for comments. And if you're in Dr. Revis's class, you will click my name for comments. However, when you get to that point, and we'll remind you again next Tuesday, always, if you submit work for us to look at in task stream for your folio, send us an email as well and just say, I have submitted something for you to look at in task stream. We don't generally go there every day at this point because there's not been a need to. So you might need to prompt us that you've submitted something there for us to look at. So if you're in Dr. Revis's class, send me an email and say, Dr. Stedman, I've sent something for you to look at in my folio. Don't send just one at a time. Send us enough that it makes it's worth our time. And once you've submitted it and it's cleared, don't go back and mess. It's cleared. Don't send it again, because every time you go back in there, if you don't click the specific ones that you want us to look at, we have to open up every single one of them again. And you know what? I'm a pretty patient person, but I kind of get mad when I have to do that over and over and over again. And I don't say bad words, but I sometimes say words I don't like. So please, 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 please take your time when you get to that point. We've got a little bit of time to talk about this again, and we will reiterate that. We just wanted you to go ahead and begin thinking about it so you can prepare yourself, and it won't be so hard next week as you're working. Work smarter and not harder. I would encourage you, remember, we're not coming on board Thursday night. You're used to Thursday nights already. I would take that and I would really focus on using that as a time to get a lot done. My challenge to you is, if at all possible, remember, you're not having to do peer reviews over the next few weeks. I would try to get my competencies for task 5. I would try to get that done and submitted to Dr. Revis and me if possible by Friday night, if you can, early Saturday morning at the latest. I will get it. Dr. Revis will probably look at them on Saturday because we know that they're coming in. If you can get them to us before then, fine. We want quality work. And then that will give us time. If you've got to do some revisions or something's not right, it gives time to get it back to you so that you can get it submitted by Sunday night on schedule for a final grade. Okay. Remember, with your case study, you need to go ahead as a team and decide who is going to take the lead on that case study, and go ahead and begin making plans towards that for week 8. And it has to be somebody that has not had the lead.
I just want to be.
Do what?
I just want to be clear. You want the task 5 by Friday, right?
Well, I'm encouraging you to try to get it done so that you're not at the last minute Sunday night and there's issues or problems, Tracy. We need to be able to clear any issues or problems before Sunday night. And once you get into this, you're going to find that it's not, I don't want to minimize, it's not as hard as some of the other stuff that you've had to do. Okay. Any other questions? I know we've given you a lot. We packed it in again tonight. But we've packed it in tonight so that you've got a really a plan for basically the next 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. You're looking at the next 3 weeks. So you won't hear us. We won't be packing anything else in except reminding you of some things, at least for the next couple of weeks. Okay, Anna?
I just want to make sure that I understand. For the task, folio, that's going to be 63 over the whole entire program. Is that correct?
Yes, you're doing
Okay.
21 each semester. And
Okay, because I misunderstood Dr. Lamb, and I that night that he was talking about it, and I could have sworn he said 63 in the first semester. So
and he may have slipped it and said that. It goes to pass some time, but no, it's 60. You'll do 21. You'll do all 21 for the 3 semesters that you're in. And what will happen, Anna? They grow in. We know that you're what you do now. The communication, for instance, that could be your email, but we don't want something to be as simple as your email. When you get into 603, it should be a more sophisticated communication. And by the time you get to your last semester, it should really have excelled, with whatever that artifact is. So we know that while we want great artifacts, we know that some of your artifacts will not be as elaborate as they will be as you're growing in the program and doing things later on. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. Other questions? I believe you got it. Guys, we're very proud of you. Please know that. Even though we fuss at you sometime and we have to do some hard stuff, we're very, very proud of you. You've come a long ways in a short time. You're doing well.
And I really think, even though that we are in week 6, I kind of think from here on out, you're gonna see it go just pretty smoothly. And
Yeah.
I think it kind of slows down a little bit. It doesn't really, but you've just got such a good handle on things. I think you feel like it does. But
right.
Anyway, you're going to be fine. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us during the week and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But I really hope you enjoy writing the reflections in task 5. I always think that we as educators don't take enough time to do reflect. And it can be such a growth process if you will let it be that for you. And so just enjoy that task. And
I'm going to close with this. Remember the first night, I did the hat thing. I remember I said, take off your teacher hat, put on your administrator hat. How many of you really, and I told you that over the course of these weeks that you would begin your thinking process and how you see things. Haven't you seen that happen with yourselves over the last 5? Don't you see things so differently than you did from that first day in class? I know you do. You have to. But you're making the transformation, and that's what it's all about. You're in the cocoon now, and you're going to break out sooner or later. Okay.
Have a good evening, guys.
Okay.
Have a good evening, guys. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.